This is the Simpit. I'm your look at that. This is the Simpit. I'm your host, Sean Cole, and welcome to a new edition of the Pitstop, where we cover today's sim racing news. And I'll tell you, today is a light day on the news topic, and to be expected. We had so much going on over the last week with the release of Project Cars, F1 2017 the week before, Sim Expo, so many things going on in this last week that we kind of had to see that fall off would finally occur. So I do have a few things to talk about. Hello, Labadon. I'm going to have to add you to the list as well. And Jamal, I got word that was Lebanon was your flag in yesterday's race. I saw you there and wasn't sure what that flag was. So now we have total clarification, and now we know what the Lebanese flag looks like, and I'll add a pin to our map, which will be one of the things we talk about today. So, again, on days that we don't have news, what I'll do is just right up front in the beginning, ask you guys if there's anything that you want to talk about, some of the news that maybe we covered in the last week that maybe we should talk about a little bit more, or maybe your thoughts and feelings on some of the things that have come out and what your opinion on them. We talked about Forza 7 and the whole demo coming out, and from the most part, I've heard, what I've heard, hello Massachusetts, is that the graphics are incredible and the physics or driving model has something to be desired. That seems to be the general consensus. I'm not saying that it makes it good or bad, and judging things by a demo can be a little bit dangerous, because sometimes a demo is far from what we'll see out of the full version of the game. So, that is something to keep in mind, and that's also kind of the dangers of doing a demo. You do a demo and it's not fully ready to go, and you might get people that cancel their orders. I saw a few people make that comment, so it can come back to haunt you. Hello, Melbourne, Australia. And Fra Loy played 2 hours of Project Cars. So let's go ahead and talk about Project Cars. I have their website up here. Let me pull that up for you to see. This is what I'm looking at. Their big story today is talking about the Audi in Project Cars 2. And one of the things that I have really liked is the fact that they have such a good diversity of cars in Project Cars 2. And no, it's not the biggest car list when comparing it to a Gran Turismo or a Forza, but it's a very good list of cars. Cars that you really want to drive or race. So I think that's important that they picked a good selection, not just every car that they could possibly model and let's throw it in just for the heck of it. So that's something that I come away with from Project Cars. I've done a little bit of driving on it, not enough to give you a full-blown review. I can tell you, it's a decent sim. It has a decent driving model that has some good fun to it, and you can have fun driving Project Cars. There's a lot of challenges, a good career mode. You start off in karting if you want to, so it's got good depth to it. Jamal, thank you very much for the shirt compliment. I like the white one as well, especially in the summer. Yeah, last night's race was quite a mess. Anyway, hoping for better results tonight. I'm sure we'll have better results. I'll tell you what, I'll remember my proper setup, that's for sure. Got a couple of emails from people with some ideas, suggestions, and help for me there. I appreciate that. And since I'm doing some thank yous, yesterday it was asked, and Thomas and Mark, I'm not going to give last names, both actually made donations to the show. I'm not even formally accepting donations, but they came in, and I say thank you very much, you guys. It's much appreciated, and I just want to give you a mention for that as well. And, you know, while we're having a slow day and a slow show, I want to mention all of you guys as well. The pit stop would not exist without the pit crew, without you guys contributing and making the show cool. I have a new map. I've been updating the map, and that is showing you all of the people who have chimed in. This is literally just by people who voiced up and said, hello from blah, blah, blah. And you can see our map is getting ever thicker with darts. Those are little darts all over the map. You can see we're very heavy in Europe, very heavy in the United States, pretty decent down in that Australia through Japan region, and a little bit of coverage in South America and South Africa as well. So, hello, Lake Havasu. I can't even put a pin for you. It's so close to my home, ultimately. I'll try to get a third pin down in that Southern California region, but we probably have I've had about 5 people who are very local, and my map isn't quite clear enough to really differentiate the Southern California area. So we're going to have to just put about 3 or 4 or 5 darts right in that area or region to cover the whole thing. So anyway, any other thoughts before we move on to from Project Cars 2? Have you guys had a chance to play it? What are your thoughts? Meserlip, I always get your name. Meserliptic J says he'd like to see more stock cars, and he mentions maybe the possibility of Chevy and Toyota as DLC. You know, the way they've set this game up, they could do a whole stock car pack if they wanted. So, you know, if that's something you really want to see, again, I mentioned this yesterday, I think you have to remember the power of the people. Send an email to that company and say, man, I love your game. Don't say I hate your game. I love your game and I want to play it more. I would love to see some DLC with maybe a stock car oval racing pack that maybe included more cars and track setup specifically for that discipline. That would be a worthy request. So again, hello Lake Havasu, FKN Carl, Meserliptic J from the UK, and hello Abilene, Texas, Bobby there. I have a dart on Denmark. I have to add, what I need in some countries is people to give me their city even on some of the larger countries, so we can maybe even throw 3 or 4 darts into that region. Barry asked if the physics are any good in PC2, Project Cars 2. And I would ask you guys that, so let's just not focus on me. I think the physics are decent. You know, when I think of a sim, and what I want from it first is a certain amount of car balance. And I think that they've achieved a certain amount of car balance. Hello, Michael from Phoenix, Arizona. I know Michael very well. Copenhagen, hello. I know I have tax for Copenhagen. Arizona, I can probably get one far enough over. I'll add Michael to the list as well. And I can start stacking some tags on some of those European countries just to show a certain amount of density of fanship. But, you know, you get the things you want. You stab the brake too hard, you're going to get a little bit of a lockup. You go into a corner a little too hot, and you're going to have a hard time sticking to the corner. You can loop it. It's not just a game. You can't just guardrail it around unless you have the damage all turned off. There are aspects of it that are very simish. There are little quirky things that take it all the way back down to Simcade for me. And that's even on the handling. Like when I was doing the go-karting, for example, I noticed my wheel was really twitching. And the driver was doing this when I watched the replay. And it kind of felt like it was driving like it was doing that. So you might need to like change your wheel rotation to match the car and not let it handle that for you. But these are the kind of things that we'll figure out with more gameplay, more time, maybe even patches that fix little bugs that they find now that it's in the masses to the public. And you can be assured they're getting lots of feedback from people on things that are working great and not working great. Hello, Per from Denmark. So that is yeah, I mean, Meserliptic J, we have to, as the consumer, take our power. And if you want more, you want better, you want changes, let them know. But the best suggestion that I can give you, just like any other critique you're going to give, don't just blast them and tell them how they've done everything wrong. Let them know that you're a fan and you're interested. You're not just there to be a troll, so to speak, and not just there to give them a hard time. You want more. And I think that goes a long way. A well-written email can very much, you know, make an argument. It can very much sink in with them. And Memories Created says, the physics and force feedback in Project Cars 2 is a very big disappointment for you. So my instant question would be, what's your norm? What's your normal game or sim that you play? So when you're making that comparison. And then on that level, how would you compare it to like Forza or Gran Turismo? That would be, you know, to get a really good judge, looking at it from a reviewer standpoint, I don't think Project Cars came out trying to be iRacing, Assetto Corsa, or R-Factor 2 even. Now, that I'm not trying to take away from your point. That's a super valid argument. But where is it in that ladder? Where do they perceive themselves in that sim arcade, simcade range Where do they think of themselves, and how did they deliver on that level? Force feedback's different. Force feedback should be awesome regardless of what level. I don't care if you're playing, you know, Mario Kart in 2017. If it's a modern game, it needs to acknowledge our wheels. It needs to give you force feedback. It needs to give you a certain amount of feeling. So, yeah, and Gary, that's something we can expect from any sim. Look at even F1 2017. They're releasing patches like every week right now, making corrections and fixes. And you do a small beta test with a small group, and you get a certain amount of feedback. You open it up to the masses, and now you really get feedback from people on lesser machines, different equipment, and then you can start really making some fixes. Or you get the constructive criticism messages saying, hey, I love your game, but your physics feel a little like this. And, you know, you might have to be a little more direct. You can't just say your physics suck. It's like, what is it? Is it too much oversteer, too much understeer, too much grip, not enough brake, not enough feedback? Let them know. I mean, that's the best we can do. It is. And then we cross our fingers and hope that it gets better. And that's something else we can talk about, Project Cars versus the other just straight purchasable sims like F1 2017 versus evolution sims, as I now call them, R-Factor 2, Assetto Corsa, and iRacing, where you don't necessarily need to buy a new copy to get the updated version. They're making evolutions and changes to the sim over time. Mario Kart with force feedback, that would be a lot of fun. Alright, I'm going to move on Project Cars, away from that. I've left the map up a long time, sorry about that. I've been looking at my center screen thinking and talking Project Cars, but meanwhile, we can move on from that. So I do have a few other things to talk about, things that struck my mind. We're going to come back to that. Yesterday on the show, people talked about Rallycross and iRacing, and I just went ahead and pulled up that forum post in case you guys didn't. And this confirms, this is the post from Tony Gardner that was yesterday, that was giving an update on the dirt license system. So with Rallycross is the one that really brought it to a head, but you think dirt oval's been going on, so they're actually going to do a dirt license system for oval, and that's going to be the dirt oval, the winged sprints and the late models and that kind of stuff. And then they're going to have a road dirt license that's going to cover Rallycross. So you'll now have 4 different license systems in iRacing. Took some work though. This is not something they had coded into the sim originally. They had to actually break it open, redesign their structure. It wasn't just as easy as adding 2 more categories. The other thing that they're adding that kind of goes right hand in hand with this, when you watch Rallycross or when you watch Dirt Oval, you go to a Dirt Oval race on a Friday night, it starts early in the morning with all the pre-races and all that building up to the A and B mains, and it's heat racing all night long. And that's something they're also adding to the sim. And when you think about Rallycross, you think about dirt, that's how it's done. Sure, NASCAR, they run their big race. Sure, IndyCar, they run their big race. Even Le Mans, most series like that. But when you think about small track, you think about dirt racing, it's always heat racing. So, just want to give you a little heads up on that. One other thing that, in case you missed it, we have not talked about it here on the show. But the whole day-to-night transitions is something that has been really lacking in iRacing when you compare it to most of the other sims. And they've been kind of late on the ball. They added night, they had day, but it was an either-or scenario. And then if you're doing a 24-hour race, it seemed really odd. Or maybe if you're talking about doing heat racing, having a time change. Maybe it's light in the morning and under the lights at night. So that's something else that is coming from them. No time frame. Rallycross is coming pretty quick. Don't know how quickly the heat racing and the licensing will happen. Don't know exactly when day to night transitions are happening as well. And El Bucho, I agree. That's what makes iRacing so special, and part of what makes it worth the money is the fact that they, every 13 weeks, minimum, every 13 weeks, they're doing massive updates and changes. Whether you're talking graphics, physics, tire model, licensing system, all that kind of stuff. And that's where I'm at with Project Cars. On the full release version, I don't have enough laps to give you a super strong opinion. I have endless hours on beta versions of the game. But to be fair, I want to see it in its released version, including the original patch. And I'm going to try to do a bit of driving on that today. Rallycross might be mid-build, so that's why I say it's not always 13 weeks. They might actually release that like within a month. Barbados. Oh, we got to add Barbados to the list as well. Let me write that one down so I don't forget. And we've had a couple of new ones here today. I'll have to check the chat after the show. And thank you very much, PC Doc. Ricky Thompson. Are you Rick Thompson, formerly of the Air Force? Do I know you, Rick? Wonder how accidents will work in heat races. Yeah, that is a great point. You think about that Friday night oval track stuff, and somebody gets tore up in an early race. Are they still going to be able to just automatically hit reset because it's a new race, or are they going to have a time penalty? That would really, the time penalty would really add to the realism. That's for sure. Janetta Racing Cars. They should make a deal with everybody, but, you know, everybody who's a big racing fan, iRacing fan, kind of fears new content, because that always means another $15 for a car and $13 for a track. And Barry, that's how I feel as well. Okay, you're a different Ricky Thompson. I know a Rick Thompson, but glad to have you with the show anyway. Just thought you were somebody I've known for like 15, 20 years. Yeah, and I agree. That's exactly why iRacing is a little bit more money, and why we need to give them credit for being a slightly different type of sim in general. Alright, something I haven't talked about much on this show, and I'm still deciding how I want to do it. If I had part-time help, things would be a whole lot different, but I don't. A couple of good mods came to my attention, and these haven't really made the news because they're still in their beta phases, but I have heard some incredible things about Donington Park for Assetto Corsa. This is the 1938 version. When I think about well, it's really more like a 67, but I think the 38 version carried for a while. But getting vintage tracks is something really cool. And I heard from a good friend, Ben, who's a fan of the show, who brought this one to my attention and said this is just one of the greatest mods that you're going to do or find. And it is at Race Department, so I'll give credit where credit is due there. And Donington Park is a great track, and having a good version of a historic version is even more fun. And you're talking about the guys behind this are some of the best modders in Assetto Corsa, and they used various different data ways of obtaining it, and they're at the 0.9 version, and I'm assuming at 1.0 is when, you know, it'll become news to the whole world, but you can get in early and check it out. I mean, go to Race Department, download it, and check it out in Assetto Corsa, and maybe Monday we'll talk about it. And just another track I'm going to mention, and I'm just bringing this up because we haven't talked about mods, and I guess the reason I'm telling you this is I'm not going to cover every mod. There are far too many mods for me to cover, but if you're ever driving a mod for R-Factor 2, Assetto Corsa, or any sim for that matter, send me a note, Sean, S-H-A-U-N, at thesimpit.com. That's Sean, S-H-A-U-N, at thesimpit.com. And let me know, and I will start covering mods. I'd really like to bring back the mod squad and do a show special on maybe the best 5 or 10 mods of the week or the month, depending on time frame. So anyway, that's just something else. I want to give a little credit there. Another mod that I just noticed when I was looking for this one is Goodwood Circuit. So this isn't the hill climb, this is the actual revival circuit. And again, LiDAR is a scanning method. And so you'll see a lot of these companies are obtaining LiDAR scans and then building the track from that data, which is exactly how Assetto Corsa or iRacing would go about such a thing. iRacing has their own scanning method, but LiDAR is one of the variations and one of the way to get real elevation and measurements, and that's how you can figure out the camber and the change of elevation when you're building a track. Not just the ribbon or the layout, but the actual nature of the track, the face of the track, the texture even. So that's all I have there, and that really comes to an end on our sim racing stories. Things I just want to acknowledge that some of you have mentioned that I want you to know I am on top of, but I'm looking at getting into Automobilista deeper. I've tried it way back when it came out. Doing something deeper and doing some sort of a review and maybe even a beginner's guide. I've had a request for a wheel buyer's guide. That's data that I've put together. I'll try to find a way to get it on the Simpit site, which right now is going through sort of a basic facelift to accommodate all the new material that we're putting out. One of the things will be some static content, static as I call it, where you could actually go look up some information on wheels and things like that. The other thing is NASCAR Heat and the Husking-Veld shifter, which I understand what they brought to Sim Expo was not a final product. So it might take a little while to actually get one of those in our hands for review. It might be a little prime time, so to speak. So, FKN Carl, I'd appreciate if you emailed me some of your favorites. Let me start looking into covering some of the best mods so you guys can all know about it as well. Hello, Brea. You are right around the corner. One of my part-time jobs is down in Brea, or just nearby. AMS V12 Heaven. I've got to try that out. The only news I have on the Thrustmaster TGT is that it's coming, and that it's very expensive, and that it's PS4 compatible, and that it seems that the base is not that far removed from the TSPC or the TSXW. Detail-wise, it's identical. I'm hoping there's something that differentiates it from the others. We'll find out. Right now, Race Department is one of the good places. When I was looking up the mods, found a few places, various different versions of Assetto Corsa mods, AC mods. A few of them were .NET. A lot of those had a lot of selections as well. So you can do a search and find them pretty easily. Skins, I don't know anything specifically for skins, if you're just looking for, like you said, liveries. Raleigh, North Carolina. We're going to have to add, I don't have anything near North Carolina yet. Thank you very much. And October release in 800, and hopefully I'll be able to get one a little bit before that, El Bucho. Barry, Raystream, I've been a long-time fan. I mean, Raystream is sort of the evolution from the half of the Simbin company. And it is... Yeah, you know what? It just got really bright. I had... Oh, wow. That's horrible. Let me change that. Sorry. Thank you for bringing that to my attention. Give me one moment. Greece. I think I have a tack for Greece. I'll double-check that as well. Yeah, it was a very overcast morning here, and obviously that changed. So, like an angel, yes, I've come to life. Thank you for notifying me about that, ProSim, though. I appreciate that. And thank you very much, 7th Florida dude. Hope you're doing well in Florida down there. Hello, Canton, Ohio. I have one at about Cleveland area, but we might have to start stacking some of our spots. Cold Spring, Texas. Awesome. We are going to build this map up until you can't even see the map. I'm going to bring the map up one more time for you guys to see. We have a lot to fill in today, though. So, alright, that is it for my sim racing news. If you guys have anything you want to chat about, we can bring it up very quickly. I do have one more story I want to talk about. This is not sim racing. This is real-life racing. But this topic was brought to my attention. Valentino Rossi was cleared to race 3 weeks after breaking his leg. What is the word? Dedication? Crazy? I see here badass is the word they used. Valentino Rossi is a confirmed badass. Here's a picture of the guy walking around with crutches and a cast. And 3 weeks later, he's going to get on a MotoGP bike and race. I get cringes in my body when I think about the what-ifs. Like, you're in a cast, you have a broken bone. Are they going to do a soft cast and make a special boot? I don't even know how he's going to do it. Hello, Mesa, Arizona. Project Cars 2, we talked about a little bit earlier. It's good and bad. There are many things that I love about it, and things that could be better as well. That's the best way I can say. Yeah, but how many mini drugs do you take for pain if you have to hop on a MotoGP bike? That is very, very good. That's something that would occur to me. I think it just shows, yeah, he's amazing. And again, I think it shows, what it shows to me is the heart of a racer. I think car racers, motorcycle racers, something about that genetic code that makes us want to go fast and be fearless. And most of us who sim race dream of or either race for real life. Excuse me. Hello, Stephen Point, Wisconsin. But it's so hard to get us to stop, even when we should. Even when we know better, we still need to do it. And I totally understand. I just can't even imagine doing it in the world of motorcycles. It's one thing to climb in a race car where you're fairly protected, where things can still go wrong. But how do you do that with a broken leg? It boggles the mind. I mean, I'm not a motorcycle guy, so I don't know. But it just seems to me that your legs are a really important part of keeping you on that bike. Hello, Belgium. Awesome, John. I missed the Truck Series. Had some great races back in the Truck Series. One of the best things to race, honestly. Yep, Greg Moore. Yeah, that's. I don't know if that is relevant in the RIP part, but you got to really wonder. TSP, thank you. Hello, Paul. Thank you. Nikki Lauda, that's a great. Look at that story. That is the epitome of what we're talking about right here. Looking through, a lot of people chiming in. So, anyway, that's a great question, B. Carl, on the Porsche and Audi LMP. I think they're trying to build something up that resembles what you see at the 24-hour race. And one of the big things for iRacing is their big events, even though some of them have not gone so great, but most of them have gone off pretty well. And I think that they're trying to get that real feel. I mean, right now the GT Series has 6 different cars to run in, and it is amazing. It is insane how fun it is running against different car makes in iRacing. And that's something that every other sim has had over iRacing. John Hill, great point. Alex Zanardi, you want to talk about the heart and spirit of a racer, and you just can't keep us down. Alex Zanardi is one of my heroes in life, and I don't even mean that lightly or casually. His story, what he went through, and what he has accomplished since is just amazing and should inspire anybody. I don't care if you have a physical injury. His story should inspire you to work and be a lot better than you are, or at least it does for me. Yes, thank you, Mikhail. I will need that help. Tonight at 6 o'clock, we'll have Race 2 in our Sim Racing Systems Porsche Carrera Cup, and hopefully I will do better than last night. Last night was a real mess, and if you want to see me at my worst, I shouldn't even advertise it, but watch last night's race. Some of it was bad luck, some of it was me just being stupid, too. No, I don't think Sim Racing will ever take over real racing. I think that we can be a separate or a level of real racing, and to an extent I even already consider us a level of real racing. Gary, I agree. Look at the changes in iRacing. It's going to be huge. Mark Webber broke his shoulder, ran 3 races. Yeah, and this is the kind of thing that you see from a lot of athletes. I don't want to act like we're special, but I think racers dealing with fear and the dangers on a daily basis play by a slightly different rule book. And everybody chiming in on Alex. Yeah, if you guys don't know, I mean, some of you guys I know are rather young, do a little search on Alex Zanardi, and it's amazing. The guy was in a horrific wreck in England. He was, I believe he ran Formula 1, he ran IndyCar. I mean, this is one of the greatest drivers in the world, and he lost both of his legs in a very serious accident, obviously. And it was just a matter of months later before the guy was even more fit and strong and rolling marathons in a wheelchair, doing amazing things, racing cars again. It is insane how fast he did it. It wasn't just that he came back. It was like the guy didn't miss 1 minute. It was like, oh, I lost my legs, big deal. I'm going to get stronger than ever. I could almost come to tears talking about the topic, to be honest with you. It's like, it's emotional, and if it weren't so badass, I probably would be in tears. Yeah, Max is right here, always by my side, ready to bark at something. El Bucho, yeah, relevant point. And I've heard stories of that as well. I have a friend who was personally helped by the kart medical team. He was a mechanic who had a injury. It wasn't an emergency scenario, but they did all the surgeries and literally put him back together again. Yeah, Zanardi with that special steering wheel and running at that level. I mean, it wasn't just like, oh, let me buy a Ferrari and run in some vintage series. Kumo, thank you very much for saying that. We've had a lot of people kind of giving a meh opinion on Project Cars, too. I'm glad to hear you're happy. I am mostly happy with it. My pros list is bigger than my cons list, but some of the things on the cons list are going to, you know, some of the people are big iRacing and Assetto Corsa and R Factor 2 fans. They're the kind of cons they're not going to tolerate. So, but I think it's a great game, and I think it's going to do well overall for the community. I think those who buy it and don't know, buyer beware kind of thing, they will be happy, and then maybe if they learn more, find this show, find other shows, they'll climb the ladder as well. You know, you get into real racing, you start in karting or Legends or Miatas or something, and then you move up the ladder. And the same thing in Sims. You start off on a Forza, Gran Turismo, F1 2017, Project Cars, and then just keep working your way up the ladder. Yeah, and that's one of the things. I think the last, you know, other than Codemasters, I'm seeing great supporter feedback. Codemasters kind of lacked in that area, but I ran, so far I've only done Project Cars on the Thrustmaster TSXW. I yesterday ran to put this wheel, this is my Bodner wheel, and then I switched, and then I had to switch again, and that's part of the mayhem of last night's race, was minutes before the race, I was putting my equipment back on because I really wanted to use the H pattern. Brian, I'm going to check that out specifically. I know the Glen pretty well, so I'll be able to check that out, and maybe that's something we'll talk about next week. Barry, no, I don't. I wish I did. I want to, but there's a limit to my balls. I almost bought a CBR, and I didn't, and I've always regretted it. I owned an Enduro for 6 months, rode it around very upright because it was an Enduro, did a little bit of dirt on it, a little bit of road on it, and then it got stolen, and I thought, I'm the only guy who never went down on a bike. Hello, Brazil. I'm going to put another thing in for Brazil on our map. Thank you for saying hello. And that's something today, Mikhail, that I'm going to get into, is I'm going to go online and see what's going on out there. Stash, the V3 inverted are very nice. If you want the inverted, it's $200 more than the V3 pedals, which are basically just as good. The inverted seem to have just a tiny bit more throw, but ultimately they're the same pedal set, or very, very similar in terms of what you get. Excuse me, let me take a drink here. I dripped on my white shirt. Greetings to Denmark. Hello to you guys. I'm loving the new format too. Honestly, we had very little news today, so it sort of quickly just turned into a chit-chat, which I don't mind doing. Always a little time to do that as well. Brian, I'm glad to hear. You know, the Placey Challenge is amazing for what it is. I mean, obviously, it's not a full-blown sim rig, but for those with limited space, it's really amazing how good this fold-up chair can be as far as comfort, holding your gear, and giving you that portable storage option that you need. I just the other day got an email from someone saying they also got one of those and was super-duper happy with it. So, as far as I'm concerned, it might be the best rig out of play seat, just in terms of bang for the buck kind of thing. And El Bucho loves the inverted pedal. So do I. Hello, 3D Sweden. Lots of UK in here for sure. Estonia. Let's get that on the map as well. We don't have anything on Estonia. Some of our spots are kind of filling up, but I'm going to start double, triple posting until you can't even see the map anymore when we get enough people. Spain, you are definitely getting out of the list. We have one other from Spain, but I'll look for Cadiz specifically. And you're Mikhail with a Wheel Stand Pro, which is a fine one as well, and an IKEA chair. So that works as well, and I've done things similar to that. I have a next level stand that I use with a chair from time to time. Hello, Scotland and UK. I'll add another one. I know I have a few there, but we have some more room there. Israel. Oh, definitely got to add Israel to the list. Thank you very much. New Jersey. Awesome. Awesome. We'll put a little more density in that northeast side. I do have one on Kentucky, and I will add another, though. So thank you very much. Let's bring that... Oh, the map's still up. I've left the map up because I'm just blabbing away. Anyway, I think Ohio, I will add... I think I already have URGR, but I have one in Ohio, and I'm adding another one today already, so for Camden. Arizona, we have a few there. Argentina, I think we've added you as well. I think that's one. If you can tell me where in Argentina, I'll be a little more specific. Oh, William, let me add Petaluma to the list, and that's where Ben is from as well, relatively speaking. Hello, Germany. Hello, Montreal. Wow, we are really getting busy with the map. That's cool, since we were short on news today. That's just fine by me. Kelowna, I added you. That's... I thought you were by the lakes. Did I get that wrong? But I remember adding Kelowna. If it needs to be above Washington, I'll move you over there and more towards, like, Vancouver, you're saying? Cordoba. I'm going to be a busy guy on my map later. Norfolk, UK. That I've got. France, we've got. We'll put some more density in both of those areas. So that is about all I have for today. Let me bring up the schedule real quick. Please don't go by my GMT. Right now we're in that transition of daylight savings where it's different all over the world, and we're in that like month of change. And so go by my AM time, which is Pacific Standard Time USA. So this show started at 9 a.m. Tomorrow at 10 a.m. we will have our sim chat, our wind tunnel. It's actually the sim tunnel is what it really is. Hello, Houston. Hope you're doing okay. Hope recovery is going well and you weren't impacted too heavily down there. But tomorrow we are going to be talking about VR. Is it the future of sim racing? And I have a few things I want to talk about in terms of its current ability and pros and cons and whether we like it or hate it. And then I also want to talk about the future. Where we'll be in 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. And tomorrow we have a special guest. I can announce that now. Gamer Muscle. So James of Gamer Muscle is going to be here. He is a fanatic for VR. Almost runs every race he does in VR. So I thought maybe he'd like to join the show and help me. I use VR a lot. I don't use it much on the show. I use it a lot in the background for fun. I still don't competitively race. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but I thought he'd be even better opinion than I. So he will be here tomorrow on the show with us for the Sim Tunnel at 10 a.m. That's 10 a.m. Pacific Time, USA. And I hope you'll come in. If you use VR, I really want you to come in and give me your opinion. If you don't use VR, come in and tell us why not, and maybe the opinions of others might change you. I know that there was a price reduction on Oculus in particular. That has got a few people I know into it that weren't before. So that is going to be a factor as well. But tomorrow morning, 10 a.m., we'll have our Sim Tunnel, and we will talk about VR until we have exhausted all of our thoughts, and then we will call it a day there. Tonight at 6 p.m., we will have SRS Sim Racing System Week 4, Race 2, and that's going to be at Imola. So my schedule's a little wrong. That was the schedule I put up for the first week. Just wanted to let you know what we have going on. I am Right now, going to step away and film some more. I am finishing up my Thrustmaster TSXW review, and then we've got a DIY project in the works. We have a shootout, and probably going to do something with Project Cars 2. Probably more live than a full-blown review at this point, now that we're late on the game. Cy Yip won the race last night. There's no beating him. This is actually the first shirt I ever got, minus the stain I just put on it with my coffee. So I'm going to have to go soak the heck out of this and hopefully still have a white shirt. Right now, black shirts are the only ones I actually have available. And I can send a message to Cy and see if we can do that. And let's see here. Second gen of VR. Gary, that's one of the opinions I think a lot of people are going to express. So that's something we'll talk about this morning. Messer Lip Tick J. Yeah, T is healthier and won't stain my shirt. But, man, I love coffee. You can't take my coffee away. No way. Coffee is my favorite beverage. Forget soda, forget water, juice, milk. Coffee is my favorite beverage. That's terrible to say. That's not a pat on the back. I'm more embarrassed than proud of that topic. But beyond that, I'm pretty much it. That's pretty much it for today's show. I just one more time am going to bring up my hero of the day, Valentino Rossi. Mr. Balls, Mr. Badass. That is pretty awesome that he's going to just 3 weeks later on a broken leg do some racing. I'd like to think that I have the same spirit, but I don't think I would on a MotoGP bike. I think there are limits to how badass I can be. So my hat's off to him, and hopefully it'll all go well enough. Nothing tragic will go wrong as a result of that decision. So anyway, join us tomorrow for VR topic. Join us tonight for the race. Hopefully you'll be in the race on Assetto Corsa, Porsche Pack 1, running on sim racing system. Hopefully you'll join the race. If not, maybe you'll join in and watch. Hopefully I can do better than last night. For now, this is the Simpit. I'm Sean Cole, and I'll see you on the track.